This plane is flying at high altitudes, but the next second, the plane was directly hit by a propeller. This is the incident of the American-Lithuanian aviation aircraft. The air-to-air strike was very exciting. It is also known as the Great Miracle. Let's go back to the day of the incident.
June 8, 1983.
In the Calder Bay Airport in Alaska, the Lithuanian aviation aircraft entered the runway and was ready to take off, planning to fly to Washington. The aircraft type is Roxy 180. There are 4 propeller engines to provide power. There were 10 passengers and 5 crew members on the day. The 3 groups of the cockpit: Captain James SP, 54 years old. Co-pilot Gary L., 56 years old, is a flight engineer. The takeoff phase was smooth and there was no abnormality. So the captain adjusted the plane to automatic driving. But suddenly there was a strange vroom, vroom sound and accompanied by a slight vibration. Deputy captain looked out the window, found the engine on the far right side of the right wing, not quite right. So the flight engineer goes to the back to check. At this time, the plane was shaking more and more. The captain decided to fly back to Calder Bay Airport. When the engineer and flight attendant came to the window, let them look at the unforgettable scene. The propeller of this engine actually fell off and flew towards the cabin, hit the cabin and fell into the sea. And there was a big hole in the bottom of the cabin due to temperature and pressure variation. The cabin is explosive. At the same time, a large fog arrived. The oxygen mask fell at the first time. Everyone puts on the mask when the fog disappeared. The deputy captain found that the plane was starting to drift to the right because there was a lack of the power output was not balanced. So the plane was better. But the strange thing is, when he tried to correct the route, but found that the feeling of operation was like being locked to death. Can't pull it at all. The airlock that was stunned in the cabin also woke up when he just wanted to check the passenger, but found a terrible thing. The step he took was actually a hole. The part of the propeller hit the plane. There's a 0.5 meter wide hole. Only a few steel plates are connected. You can even see the sea below through the hole. After the captain learned about the cabin,
immediately shut down the engine, tighten the propeller, avoid other dangerous situations such as fire, because the cabin has been under pressure. So it needs to be lowered as soon as possible. Otherwise, the oxygen mask will run out. Passengers are prone to suffocation. The cockpit is the same as the passenger. The feeling of the mainframe is also unstable. But it seems that the autopilot is still working. When the captain entered a lower altitude, the plane automatically dropped in altitude. But a new problem appeared. The remaining 3 engines are in full throttle, high-speed operation. And the captain found that no matter how they adjust, the engine's power can't be reduced. The feeling of operation is dead and can't be operated. The engine's full throttle output can't be adjusted. Fortunately, the autopilot can still be used. The plane also successfully lowered the altitude. So why can't the pilot pull it? According to subsequent investigation, it turns out that this plane uses 2 sets of independent control steel plates, and these steel plates are just past the neck pierced by the propeller. And the reason why the autopilot can't pull it, it's because the deformed floor. Just put the steel plates on the ground. Simply put the steel plate as stop. It is impossible to pull it by manpower. But the autopilot is driven by a hydraulic pressure. The force is obviously greater. So there's a sense of operation that can't be pulled, but the autopilot can pull it. This problem has just been solved. The new trouble is coming in. The remaining 3 engines are in full throttle, high-speed operation, and no matter how the captain adjusts, the throttle can't be reduced. Later, when the investigation was carried out, it was found that the throttle control line was cut off at the moment the propeller hit the fuselage. It can be said that it was a bad luck. Every problem encountered by the life fruition charter aircraft, it's all disaster related. The feeling of operation is dead and can't be operated. The plane can't turn and can't lower the altitude. The autopilot at the time did not have the ability to turn. And the throttle will cause the speed to be too fast. There may be a situation of air disintegration. Even if the luck is down, it will rush out and run to the bottom due to the emergency. The crew immediately sent a distress signal to the transfer center and seek help. And with the help of the autopilot, the height of the plane successfully dropped to about per meter. This height is no longer a problem for oxygen. Good news, after trying to build a feeling of operation, although the captain's sense of operation is still motionless, but the engine on the side of the load can pull a little. This also shows that the manual control lever is not broken. The captain also came. The cockpit directly became a jet. The two people are crazy about the feeling of operation with their effort. The plane can turn slowly in small area. But the new problem is here. Where should I land? The runway at Cordovan Airport is too short. And the plane is under the thrust of 3-engine all-oil door. Obviously, it's already over the speed. It will definitely rush out and run to the bottom. The crew finally decided to go to Anchor Lake International Airport. This is the largest airport in Alaska. There is a 10-meter runway. Although the length is not necessarily, but there is no other choice. 4 hours later, the aircraft of life release in. No Safely finally arrived near Anchor Lake Air. But at this time, the speed of the plane and the turn are difficult to control, so they can't land. They can only keep looking for weight. At this time, the ground engineer suggested that the crew turn off the autopilot, but the result is the same. The feeling of operation is only a little loose. This is the extent that the plane can't land. They had to restart the autopilot. Just when the captain was exhausted and wanted to take a break, the deputy captain suddenly found that the autopilot was turned off and his sense of operation became much lighter. It can already make a large-scale turn to the center. This also means that they can land. Now there is only one last problem. That is the speed of the plane. The captain decided to turn off a test first. As a result, the speed of the plane did not decrease much. At this speed, the landing will definitely rush out and run. So the captain decided to take off again. In this case, he can still choose to take off. It is enough to see the experience of the crew, because many aircraft are not willing to take off when landing. It is due to the single landing. After Le Fur-Lucin, no say took off again. The captain also understood. He wanted to control the speed of the plane within the range of landing. He could only turn off all engine. But this is a big risk. Either the limit will fall or destroy the people, because the sound of this kind of plane is produced by the propeller pushing the air back. If you turn off the engine in the sky and rely on the landing of the Sable, the propeller that stops the rotation will bring a great deal of resistance. The sound of the wings will be reduced. This will cause the plane to fall quickly. Therefore, the pilot can only turn off the engine when the plane is close to the ground. But this means that there is no possibility of returning to flight. There is only one chance.
In order to further reduce the speed of landing,
He lowered the first lots of meter altitude to a meter. In the end, the plane stopped on the grass next to it. No casualty. You know, this plane is full of air. To ground crash it. Engine problems, loss of speed, and uncontrollable feeling. All are air to ground passenger. In addition to the cracked big mouth of the Le Fur-Lucin, the rest of the plane is perfect. It can be said to be a miracle. At the same time, the excellent performance of the aircraft group is also worthy of praise. The investigation of the accident was also carried out very quickly. It was because the engine of Nopina was damaged that the propeller fell off. But the investigator did not give the reason for the fall of the propeller, only gave the guess of the two models. It is probably the design of the engine itself that is missing, because before the accident, there have been 4 cases of falling of the propeller on the same plane. As for the uncontrollable feeling, but the problem of automatic driving, the last video has already explained to everyone. So why did manual driving come in handy later? At first, the manual operation of the propeller was really stuck. But in the process of 2 pilots pulling the control stick for 6 hours without interruption, the metal frame that stuck the operation of the propeller was carved out of a groove. So the control stick can be pulled. And this is also the reason why the aircraft was called the Tia Great Luchu Miracle Tier. In the Tia Theory,